Chapter 9, Section 2, Managing Your Weight Safely. Check out these stats. In 1965, 4.6% of teens were overweight. In 15 years after that, 5% of teens were overweight. Today, over 16.1% of teens are overweight. What changes might help reverse this trend? And how successful do you think those changes would be? These are the questions I want you to answer in your journal. This is your talking point for this movie. Write it down. A person's weight is determined by various factors, including heredity, which we've talked about already. That's your DNA. That's what you're born with. Your level of activity, how many things you do. Your body composition, what your body is made up of. And these things can vary from person to person. The weight that is right for you ultimately comes down to one thing. Is your health at risk from the weight that you have? If the answer is no, then your weight is fine. If the answer is maybe or yes, then there's something that you need to do about your weight. Heredity is the first one. We have found the link between body weight and heredity. You might have a natural tendency towards a certain weight. There are some people that no matter what you try can't gain weight, and there's other people who no matter what they try can't lose weight. And that could be hereditary. It might just be who you're going to be. Another thing is activity level. Now this you certainly can control. The more active you are, the more calories you burn. If you are less active, you need fewer calories. The number of calories consumed must equal the number of calories burned if you're going to maintain a constant weight. If you're going to gain weight, you need to bring in more calories than you burn. If you're going to lose weight, you need to burn more calories than you bring in. Simple physics, but it's not that simple at all. It can be very, very challenging to make a change to your lifestyle or your diet. The third part of this is body composition. And this is a measure of how much body fat you have as compared to muscle and bone. This is what we've been measuring all year with your BMI. This can be affected by your gender and your age. You might have one BMI when you're young and a different one when you're older. Men and women definitely have different BMIs because women tend to have more body fat and lower muscle mass than men. So BMI, I told you that I would show you how to do it. Here it is. This is the formula that you use. Now we've been measuring in kilograms for weight and centimeters for height. This is a formula for pounds and inches. This is a little different, but this is what, when you go to kidshealth.org and have your BMI calculated, this is what it's doing. It's taking your weight in pounds and dividing it by the square of your height in inches, and then multiplying it times a factor of 703. And there's a lot of reasons that number exists, but it's kind of an average number to multiply to kind of compare yourself to other people. When you calculate it, that's when you get your 18, 20, 22, whatever your BMI is. If you wanted to do this, here's the steps you would do. And this is part of what you're going to have to do during this chapter and maybe even on the test. So follow these steps. First, multiply your height times your height in inches. That's the square of your height. Divide your weight by that number that you just calculated. And then multiply that times 703. And you're done. You have your BMI. If for men, your BMI, you can see the range for appropriate weight. At your age, it's somewhere between 16 and 22 in that range. When I change it to women, women are closer to 23. Men, women, men, women. And so it gives you a really good idea that women have, again, that body type has a difference. Women carry higher body fat, so their BMI is going to be a little higher, and that's normal. So the number of people in the United States who are overweight is increasing. Being overweight can lead to serious health problems, including heart disease and diabetes. Overweight is a term used to describe a person who is heavier than the standard for the person's height. Obesity refers specifically to adults who have a BMI of 30 or higher. Notice I said adults, not children. Why don't we use that term for children? Because children are doing something adults are not. They are still growing. And with the potential to still grow, that means that children who might have a high BMI have the potential to grow out of their weight. So they can grow, grow into your weight. That's why we don't use that term typically for children. Keep that in mind. More calories are being consumed by people today than ever before. It's easy to get them, and there's a lot of high sugar type foods available. People, though, are less active. We have a lot more conveniences, and we live further from where we work and where we go to school. So we spend a lot more time in vehicles, getting from here to there. Our houses are further and everything. So what are the risks? If you're overweight, what are we really risking here? Well, you tend to develop several health problems over your period of your life if you're overweight. One of those is high blood pressure. We've talked about that. Another one is excess cholesterol in the blood. That could lead to high blood pressure. Excess glucose in the blood. That's sugar. Glucose is a sugar. So high glucose leads to diabetes. Heart disease. You can do damage to your heart. Excess pressure and excess demand from your heart. You could have a stroke. And even certain cancers are affiliated with being overweight. So there's a number of risks. That doesn't, not just because you're overweight, does not mean you're at risk of any of these, but it could be. So what can you do? Well, the biggest thing you can do is prevent. Prevention is worth a lot. Like this woman on the treadmill, she could have prevented from falling and getting hurt just by thinking about what she was doing. And prevention is also important for not being overweight. Staying active, eating regular and exercising regularly, these are things that can prevent becoming overweight in the first place. Another one is underweight. This is this term used to describe a person who is lighter than the standard for a person's height. Being underweight can also be linked to certain health problems. You can suffer from anemia. That's not enough red blood cells or enough hemoglobin, iron in your blood. Heart irregularities. Your heart, when you're underweight, you tend to get dehydrated more quickly, which can put weird demands on your heart, and you can have heart irregularities. Trouble regulating your body temperature. You get cold very easily. You get overheated very easily. Without that extra body mass, you fluctuate very quickly, and it can be a very big problem. Underweight is just as much of a problem as overweight. So what you want to do is get the right weight. What can you do if you're underweight? Well, first of all, be patient. As you mature, there'll probably come a time when your weight will start to increase. Eating healthy and exercise are just as important for underweight people as it is for overweight people. Getting exercise helps you build an appetite, which then helps you become more energetic, which helps you build more muscle, and you gain the weight. If we're going to be sensible about our weight, it involves several things. One, you got to avoid dangerous diet plans. Two, you have to choose nutritionally balanced meals and snacks. And three, you got to exercise regularly. There are dangerous diet plans out there, and one of them we give a name, fad diet. Now, a fad is something that is here today, gone tomorrow. It's very popular right now, kind of like Justin Bieber, you know? He was really popular, and now he's not so much. So a fad diet is one that everybody seems to be doing right now, and then next year, no one will be doing it. It's a popular diet. And a lot of these fad diets don't really have any regard for proper nutrition or other health issues. It's how can I get weight off as fast as I possibly can and not really worried about my health. Then there's diet aids. These include pills or candies or other things that are supposed to suppress your appetite that doesn't even make you want to eat. These also have potential side effects. Some people just stop eating. You know, that's not healthy either. You have to get nutrition. You have to maintain certain things. Rather than trying to figure it out, some people just stop eating. I'm just drinking water. Well, that's not very healthy either. We want to be sensible about our weight loss. First, we have to recognize our eating patterns. One of the things we're going to do in this unit is we're going to keep a diary. For 7 days, you're going to record everything you eat and drink. Everything. And then we're going to analyze that and plan changes from that. Once you identify what you're doing well and what you're not doing so well, you can say, I'm going to change this one thing, because it's not possible to change everything, but it is possible to change some things. Exercise is also a part of this. You got to stay active. You got to have some kind of a program that gets your heart rate up, gets you moving, and this is part of this sensible weight loss program too. When it comes to losing weight, one of the things you need to do is identify specific habits or specific activities that you can reduce or eliminate from your life. One of the biggest ones is how much you eat at one sitting. I don't know if you've ever been in an old home that has original cabinets in it. If you have a 1950s cabinet, you'll notice that today's plates don't fit in them. Our cabinets in our houses today are very deep because our plates are much bigger. The plates that our grandparents ate off of in the 1950s had no problem fitting in those things. They were small plates. Now we have big plates. What the heck does that have to do with anything? Well, if you have the habit of filling a plate, plate size suddenly has a big role to do in your diet. Getting a smaller plate, getting rid of the big ones and eating off the smaller ones will help you if you have a problem with overeating, eating too much at one sitting. Just getting a smaller plate could help a lot. Eat your food slowly. It takes 12 minutes. 12 minutes from the time you start eating before a signal is sent from your stomach through the vagus nerve to your brain saying, hey, I might be full. Have you ever eaten a meal in less than 12 minutes? I have too. And that means that you have the potential to overeat if you eat in less than 12 minutes. Your stomach doesn't have the chance to tell your brain, hey, please stop eating yet, because you ate too fast. That's why eating slower, over a period of like 30 minutes at least, that's going to help you a lot. Try not to eat while watching TV or reading or being on your computer. These are distractions, and distractions keep you from paying attention to that signal your stomach might be telling your brain. I'm full, please stop eating. Boredom is a huge problem. When you get bored, what do? You go to the kitchen, you open the fridge, you open the cabinets, you eat chips, you eat junk. Find an alternative activity, like just taking the dog for a walk when you get bored. Sometimes, though, you're going to have issues. You're going to overeat. You're going to eat too much of the wrong stuff. Don't get upset. The occasional slip-up is not your problem. It's what you do every day that makes the difference. So focus on eating as sensibly as you can every day. And then when you have Thanksgiving meal or some other kind of bad moment where you eat an entire tub of ice cream or whatever, those things are less important because it only happened once this month, right? So if you're trying to gain weight, you also want to be sensible. You want to avoid snacks right before meal times because snacks generally are low in nutrition and high in sugar. And so we want to avoid that kind of food, and rather we'd put good carbs and fat and protein in your diet, which is going to help you gain weight. Choose nutrient-dense foods, things that have a lot of energy in a small package. Nuts are really good for this. A lot of calories, but small volume. So it doesn't. When you get full, you still have more calories than you would have otherwise. And don't increase your fat intake. That's not the kind of weight you want. You don't want a big belly to be heavier. You want muscle. So this is where exercise comes in. Doing some weights, lifting weights is going to be a great way to help you gain weight. Don't skip meals. Skipping meals is never a good plan, either to gain or lose. You want a constant metabolism, something that's going to work for you and not fluctuate. Anyone who skips meals, whether you're trying to gain weight or lose weight, you're messing with your metabolism. And so your body tries to compensate in weird ways. You want to avoid that. Take bigger helpings. Stretch that stomach. Your stomach is a muscle. If you put more food into it, it'll stretch it and you'll be able to hold more food next time. You will be able to eat more at the next meal. And finally, while you're increasing your caloric intake, do not neglect exercise. Again, the exercise is what's going to give you the energy. It's going to use up the energy and cause you to eat on a more regular basis.